Exposed, my daughter-in-law's shocking plan to claim our home just days after marrying my son. Mary's heart raced as she stood in her kitchen, hands trembling around a steaming mug of coffee. The aroma filled the air, but it couldn't mask the bitter taste of betrayal brewing inside her. She had spent years fighting for her family, for their little home in Cherry Grove, a place where the laughter of her son, Jake, echoed through the halls. Now, just days before his wedding to the glamorous Lila, the fabric of all she loved was starting to fray. That afternoon, the sun dipped low, casting the familiar shadow of their cherry tree across the yard. Mary watched as neighbors buzzed with excitement, but her heart sank when she inadvertently overheard a hushed conversation between Lila and her mother while picking up a bouquet for the wedding. "Of course, once we're married, the house will be ours," Lila's voice dripped with entitlement. Mary's chest tightened. Her home wasn't just a roof over their heads, it was a treasure trove of memories, hard work, and sacrifice. That night, Mary lay in bed, the whispers of doubt haunting her like shadows. With Jake's happiness at stake, could she really confront Lila? She thought of all the sacrifices she'd made as a veteran, both on and off the battlefield. Everything felt weighted with the burden of the unknown. Her heart was a battlefield of its own, torn between protecting her legacy and allowing her son to create a new life. At the rehearsal dinner, excitement buzzed through the air. Mary stood on the sidelines, a supportive smile plastered on her face. But when she saw Lila glide towards Jake, elegance radiating from her, confidence bubbled until it burst. "Can I talk to you, Lila?" Mary's voice was barely above a whisper. A knot of unease twisted in her stomach as she pulled Lila aside. "You were talking about the house." Lila's eyes narrowed, and in an instant, Mary's worst fears erupted. "You think you know what's best for Jake, but you don't understand our plans. It's not about the house." Words clashed like thunder, drawing the attention of guests. Gasps echoed, and cameras clicked as uncertainty clouded her son's face. Before they could calm the storm, whispers slithered through the crowd, igniting old prejudices and sowing seeds of doubt in Cherry Grove. Could the community really trust Lila? Frustration bubbled in Mary's chest. The air was thick with anguish, overshadowing what was supposed to be a celebration of love. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. The wedding day dawned, bright yet clouded by lingering tension. Mary gathered her friends and neighbors around the dusty picnic tables in her backyard, sharing stories of love and sacrifice. They clinked glasses filled with homemade lemonade, laughter momentarily loosening the knots in their hearts. But unease still crackled in the air, a silent war waged between conflicting dreams, just as hope flickered in the air. A twist of fate unraveled when secrets about Lila surfaced, forcing both women to confront their pasts. Mary's breath hitched, her resolve building. Questions loomed heavy. What did it mean to be family? Could they both survive the storm, or would it shatter everything they held dear? With emotions swirling like a violent wind, Mary needed to uncover if love could indeed conquer all, or if it would tear the family she cherished apart forever. The sun rose over Cherry Grove, casting an orange glow on the backyard as Mary stared out the window. The wedding preparations were already buzzing all around her. White ribbons danced in the gentle breeze, while the smell of fresh flowers filled the air. Yet, beneath the surface, Mary felt like she stood on a ledge, the ground crumbling beneath her. Jake's face radiated happiness, but Mary could see the flickers of doubt there too. He was trying to balance the joy of his big day with the weight of his mother's unease. She knew the discussion from the rehearsal dinner hadn't simply vanished, it lurked, an unresolved tension waiting to erupt. The moment they stepped into the backyard for the ceremony, Mary's heart clenched. Lila, in her breathtaking white gown, appeared every bit the fairy tale princess. But Mary saw the underlying intentions glimmering in her eyes. Were they truly there to celebrate love, or was it something darker at play? When the officiant began, Mary's gaze roamed over the gathered guests, scanning for any look of support. She caught her best friend, Tim, giving her a reassuring nod. Yet, uncertainty flooded her as Lila and Jake stood hand in hand, exchanging vows that felt almost like a performance, beautiful but hollow. "Do you take this woman?" The words draped over the crowd, creating an almost tangible weight. Mary's heart raced with each spoken sentence. Was this a lifetime commitment for her son? Or had Lila merely crafted an elaborate plan to secure her future? Just as Jake said "I do," a commotion erupted from the wayward guests. Mary's heart dropped when she realized that Lila's mother, behind her daughter, was gesturing wildly. "This is all preposterous," she shouted, her voice echoing over the murmurs of the crowd. "You're letting her steal our family's legacy right out from under you, Jake." The tension splintered like broken glass, piercing hearts all around. Guests turned to Mary, eyes wide, disbelief and sympathy lingering on their faces. Mary felt exposed, a dam holding back a flood of resentment and protectiveness. This was happening. Here, at her son's wedding, secrets which should have been left buried resurfaced to haunt them all. "Mom, what is going on?" Jake's voice wavered, panic sprinkling his words as he scanned Mary and Lila's faces. The collective breath of all who gathered held, waiting for answers. Mary stepped forward, heart pounding, desperate to shield Jake from the chaos swirling around them. "Jake," she began, her own voice shaky but firm, "there is something you need to know about Lila, something you need to hear straight from me." The weight of choices made and paths multiplied pressed against her chest, but she couldn't let it suffocate her. She had to speak. As she opened her mouth to divulge the truth, she caught Lila's eye. There was a flash of something, fear? Anger? That made Mary pause. The moment hung in the air, breathless. Could this truly be the end of the fragile peace? Would they all emerge from this moment whole, or was it the start of something irrevocably broken? And above all, would Jake stand by her side or fall into a trap woven with lies? Every eye watched, anticipation palpable. Mary took a deep breath, ready to set the storm in motion. Mary felt the weight of the world on her shoulders as she faced her son. The moment stretched out longer than it should have, hanging in the thick, tense air. Questions swirled in her mind. What would she say, and would it even matter? Lila's gaze was piercing, a warning that sent a shiver down Mary's spine. Somewhere behind the silk facade of the bride was a woman who carried ambitions wrapped in charm. "Jake," Mary started, her voice wavering despite her determination. "I need you to understand the truth about Lila." The words hung heavy in the air. Lila tightened her grip on Jake's hand. "This is ridiculous, Mary. Can't you see it's just wetting nerves? Let us talk later." "Now." Mary snapped, surprising even herself. The room inhaled sharply, eyes darting between the three of them. Jake looked bewildered, confusion drowning the happiness that had once illuminated his face. "Mom?" His voice was small, a child seeking clarity. It tore at her heart. "I don't want to ruin your day, but Lila isn't who you think she is," she cried, her pulse racing. "Her family, there are connections, Jake. It's not just about love, it's about strategy. She wants what the family built, and she's using you to get it." The crowd shifted, whispers floating like fragile petals in the windy garden. Lila's poise threatened to fracture as she turned, addressing the guests. "This is absurd. Mary, you're embarrassing yourself and you're embarrassing Jake." "No," Mary shot back, shaking her head, desperate for Jake to hear her. "You need to believe me. This isn't just some coincidence. She's been plotting something for years." "I stop." Jake's voice boomed, cutting through the tension. "You don't know that." His eyes were filled with hurt, disappointment cresting with each second. "Why would you say that about her? She's my wife now." "Is she?" Mary shot back, feeling her heart crack open. "Or just a clever player in a game she's been practicing since before you met?" Lila took a step toward Jake, tears brimming in her eyes. "Jake, I love you. You have to believe me." I'd never do anything to hurt our family. Your mother is just trying to create trouble. The audience murmured, caught between the bride's plea and Mary's stern warnings. Faces painted with uncertainty turned toward Jake, waiting for his reaction. The weight of family loyalty battled against the love he felt for Lila. Mary looked desperately into her son's eyes. Jake, this is your life, we cannot ignore these signs. You deserve more than a marriage built on deceit. Enough! He exclaimed, stepping back, his voice breaking. The moment shattered like a fragile ornament, bringing reality crashing down around them. Lila's mask slipped just for an instant, revealing the anxiety coiling in her stomach. Would she fight for her position, or was she starting to realize that her walls were crumbling? A flicker of discomfort flashed in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by anger. I cannot believe you're doing this today. She spat, her voice low but burning. You are destroying us, Mary. The spectators shifted uncomfortably, the hum of confusion enveloping the once cheerful atmosphere. Mary felt as if she was standing on a cliff, peering down at the chaos below, while her heart beat louder in her chest. Jake, she whispered, reaching out once more, her hand trembling. Please, you have to investigate. Just look beyond the surface. But Jake turned away, locking eyes with Lila instead, seeking solace in her presence. In that singular moment, triumph and defeat collided, leaving Mary standing alone, her world collapsing like a house of cards. Did he trust her anymore? Had she lost him before she'd even begun? As she watched his face, hope flickered but dimmed rapidly. She turned away just as Lila's triumphant smirk danced back into view. Something had to be done. This was far from over. With determination surging within her, Mary made a choice. She wouldn't give up. There was too much at stake, too many shadows yet to be uncovered, but what could she possibly do to prove her suspicions? Mary felt the storm brewing inside her. And in that very moment, she realized it wasn't just about Jake anymore, it was about saving her family from what lay ahead. As she took another deep breath, the pieces of the puzzle started to align. Maybe she wasn't alone in this fight. The question was, who could she trust to stand with her as the storm drew closer? Mary stepped away from the scene, her feet carrying her to the edge of the garden. The laughter and chatter of wedding guests dimmed as she moved, each step feeling heavier than the last. She could barely breathe, her chest tight with a mix of despair and resolve. She had to do something. She glanced back, catching sight of Jake standing there, his face marred with confusion and hurt. Her heart ached, knowing she had lost that moment, the chance to reach him while it was still fresh. She had to fight for him, and for the truth. As she moved further from the crowd, Mary spotted a familiar face. It was Emily, her childhood friend. They hadn't seen each other in years, but memories surged like a comforting tide. Emily was always a source of strength, a voice of reason. Maybe she could help Mary see through the chaos. Mary! Emily shouted, weaving through the guests toward her. Emily! Mary called back, forcing a smile despite the tempest raging within her. Is everything all right? I heard some raised voices. Is it Jake? Concern etched deep lines on Emily's brow. It's Lila, Mary replied, her voice low but urgent. I'm afraid she's using him. I need help. Emily's expression softened, and she nodded slowly. Let us find somewhere to talk. You cannot take this on alone. Together, they moved to the far side of the garden, away from prying eyes. Mary poured out everything, her worries about Lila's motives, the connections she sensed, and the possible threat to their family legacy. Emily listened intently, her eyes flaring with determination. I never trusted her, Emily admitted finally. There was something off about her from the beginning. But why didn't you tell Jake earlier? Mary winced at the question, the guilt wrapping around her like thorns. Because I hoped it was all in my head. I didn't want to ruin his happiness. But now, I think it's serious. Emily crossed her arms, deep in thought. Let us gather evidence. There has to be something that shows her true colors. Maybe we can uncover her plans and prove she's not sincere. As Mary considered this, a flicker of hope ignited inside her. The idea of standing together, of fighting not just for Jake but for their family, felt like a lifeline. You're right. If we can find something solid suddenly, a short scream cut through their conversation. Mary's heart dropped as she turned toward the noise. Panic surged through her as guests began to gather near the entrance of the garden. What happened? Emily gasped. I don't know, let us go. Mary rushed forward, adrenaline kicking in as they hurried back toward the source of commotion. When they reached the crowd, Mary pushed through to find Jake and Lila at the center, surrounded by concerned faces. Lila was trembling, her hands pressed to her face, tears streaming down her cheeks. The scene was chaotic, guests whispering, pointing, and murmuring rumors. What happened? Mary asked, her heart pounding. I tripped, it was an accident. Lila stammered, mascara running, face pale. But Mary saw the glint in her eyes. The chaos was more than just a trip. The facade was slipping, and panic brewed beneath the surface. With her heart pounding, Mary knew not only was the storm arriving, but the time to act had come. Jake, we need to talk. This isn't over. She shouted, her voice cutting through the tension. Lila shot her a glare, then composed herself. But Mary saw this wasn't just about love anymore. Whatever game Lila was playing was about to escalate. As the guests whispered and speculated, Mary felt a surge of clarity. How far was Lila willing to go? And would Jake finally see the truth before it was too late? Everything was spiraling, and the next move had to be perfect. The air was thick with tension, punctuated by whispered gossip and uncertain glances. Mary felt the heat of everyone's stares, but her focus was on Jake. His expression was a mix of confusion and concern, and she knew she needed to reach him before the moment slipped away again. Jake! She called, stepping closer. The world around them faded, becoming an indistinct blur. When he turned to her, his brows knitted together. What is going on, Mary? What do you mean it's not over? Mary tried to steady her breath, the truth teetering on her lips, yearning to burst free. Lila is hiding something. Stop. He held up a hand, his voice low yet edged with frustration. You're saying she's lying to me? After everything she's done? You can't just, Jake. Please. The desperation in her voice cut through his anger. Just give me a chance to explain. You deserve to know the truth. Lila, standing nearby, recovered enough to interject, her voice laced with innocence. Mary, I can't believe you're saying these things at my wedding. It's so inappropriate. I stumbled, it was an accident. Mary shook her head, keeping her gaze locked on Jake. But it wasn't an accident. You can feel it, can't you? Look at her, Jake. This whole thing is coming apart. The grip on Jake's features relaxed slightly, his eyes shifting to Lila before snapping back to Mary, confused and searching for clarity. What are you implying? Emily stepped up beside Mary, her voice steady. Mary believes Lila has ulterior motives. We've been trying to connect dots, and it's not adding up. It doesn't make sense, Jake. The crowd around them shifted, drawing closer, their fascination palpable. Mary felt their eyes, some curious, some judgmental. But she pressed on, comforted by Emily's presence. Think about it. Lila talks about you, about your family, in ways that don't feel right. She's always strategizing, planning. What if she's got her sights on something bigger? Something that has nothing to do with love and everything to do with power? Lila scoffed, folding her arms defensively. This is ridiculous. I love you, Jake. You know that. Mary felt a spark of anger shoot through her, a need to break through the lies. But what is love with hidden agendas? What about your family legacy, Jake? What does any of this mean if she's not genuine? Silence fell over the garden, and for a second, Mary felt hope flicker in Jake's eyes. But then doubt clouded his expression again. Why didn't you tell me sooner, Mary? Because I didn't want to ruin everything, didn't want to rip you from your happiness, she thought, but couldn't bring herself to say it. I was scared. Scared it was just me feeling this way, but this isn't just my intuition anymore. You have to believe me. Lila's lips pressed together, her eyes narrowed, her earlier facade of vulnerability evaporating. It was a slight shift, but Mary noticed there was something darker lurking behind her carefully constructed emotions. Jake, Mary started, but Lila interrupted. Enough. You sound desperate. Lila laughed bitterly, cutting through Mary's resolve. This is my wedding day. You don't get to ruin this for me. Is that what you're afraid of? Mary challenged, stepping forward, fueled by righteous fury. That I might expose you for the real villain you are? Jake's eyes darted between the two women, his expression torn. What do you mean expose? Lila's hiding something, Mary urged as she fought for her brother's heart. We could prove it, find the truth together. The once jovial garden atmosphere felt suffocating now, the whispers louder, questions swirling like a tempest. Just as Mary's chest tightened, a distant glance caught her attention. A shadow beyond the garden's edge, flickering movement. Someone was standing behind the tree's weight, she said, eyes darting. What's happening over there? The crowd shifted as everyone turned, intrigued. What was it? An ally, or perhaps something worse? The stakes were rising, and Mary had to act fast, but she could feel all eyes on her, pressing for answers she wasn't yet sure she had. The next moment held the weight of everything. Would they finally uncover Lila's secret, or was it too late to save Jake from the unfolding chaos? The tension in the air thickened, a palpable force that twisted stomachs and held breaths. Mary's heart raced, her eyes fixed on the trees. Shadows danced at the edge of her vision, teasing the possibility of revelation or disaster. She stepped forward, breaking the fray of murmurs, realizing the crowd was hanging on every gesture. Who's there? Mary cried out, urgency in her voice slicing through the rising tension. Probably just some kids messing around, Lila answered dismissively, but her face was slightly pale, her smile faltering. No, Emily said, her gaze locked on the flicker behind the trees. I saw movement. We need to find out. Jake's lips pressed together, his frame rigid. You two are just being paranoid. Lila, he began, but the tension was too thick for words of denial to root. Mary moved closer to the trees, her heart pounding as the sounds of laughter and music faded into the background. The crowd murmured, a wave of whispers rippled as spectators shifted. Stay back, Lila said now, taking a step toward Jake as if to shield him. But Mary's gut churned. She felt something dark lurking beyond the garden, and that instinct pushed her forward. I'm not going anywhere. If there is something to be uncovered, I need to know what it is. The crowd thrummed with anxious anticipation, their faces shifting from laughter to worry. Mary moved through the whispers, a sense of bravery igniting within her, fueled by her need to protect Jake. If there was even a sliver of truth to her suspicions, she had to confront it. Whoever you are, she shouted, her voice rising above the murmurs. Come out. You can't hide from us. The rustling stopped for a fleeting second, then a tall figure stepped into the light, brushing past the branches. Faces turned, jaws dropped, and gasps filled the air. It was Ryan, Jake's childhood friend, but there was no joy in his demeanor. His features were drawn, a stark contrast to the festive scene around them. Mary? He called, his voice strained. I need to talk to you. Now. What's wrong? Jake took a step forward, his protective instinct flaring. It's about Lila. I'm not sure how to tell you this, Ryan stuttered, glancing nervously at the bride beside him. Lila's eyes widened, the betrayal cutting deep. Ryan, stay out of this. You have no idea what you're talking about. But the seriousness in his eyes told another story. I know about some plans Lila's been making. You don't understand the risks. It could destroy everything. The words hung there, heavy with implications. Mary's breath caught. This was what she sensed. Everything she had feared was beginning to unravel. Jake looked back at Lila, eyes searching for confirmation, but all he found was a practiced look of innocence, pure panic spilling behind it. "What plans?" he demanded, his voice hardening. Ryan opened his mouth, ready to expose the truth, but at that moment, Lila's voice cut through his words like glass. "Jake, you can't listen to him. This is just slander. He's making things up." "Am I?" Ryan countered, eyes blazing. "You think you can control everything around you because of your family's wealth? You're not the only one who knows how to play the game." The crowd buzzed with shock, each person leaning in, hushed whispers soaring as the truth tangled in the air like smoke. Lila bristled, her defenses crumbling around her while Jake stood there, grasping for clarity, caught between two worlds. Tension wrapped them in its grip as Mary felt every heartbeat drumming in her chest. She knew they were on the brink of something real and unraveling that could either save Jake or bury him in chaos. But what if this is all a lie? Jake's voice rang out, desperation creeping in. "What if you're both wrong?" Mary stepped forward, entwined with courage. "Then we'll know the truth. And if it means uncovering Lila's intentions, then I'd rather walk this path than ignore the signs." The murmurs intensified, a collective heartbeat echoing in the garden. All eyes were on Jake, the weight of their expectations heavy on his shoulders. "Jake," Lila pleaded, her facade fading. Vulnerability spilling out in her eyes. "Please." He faced her, conflicted. "You need to tell me the truth, Lila. Now." What would she reveal? Would the truth set him free or plunge him deeper into darkness? Mary held her breath, waiting for the moment that could change everything. Lila's silence screamed louder than any words. The air grew thicker, charged with unsettled truths. She shifted her weight, eyes darting around as if searching for an escape. "Lila," Jake pressed, desperation spilling into his voice. "If there's something you're hiding, I'm not hiding anything." She shot back, but the way her voice trembled did little to convince anyone. Mary's heart sank, the damning possibility coursing through her. This could break Jake. It felt like watching a ship cling to a crumbling dock, desperately trying to stay afloat against the tide. Then why did Ryan come here? Mary stepped closer, leaning in. If it's a lie, why not confront him directly? Why not just deny it? Because Lila's breath hitched, her defenses starting to crack. "Because you don't understand. What don't I understand?" Fear wrapped around Mary's lungs. She had to keep her focus on Lila, on that flicker of vulnerability. "Tell us." The crowd stood in a mix of anticipation and dread, the once celebratory air now shrouded in the weight of looming truth. Even the music had faded to a distant hum. Suddenly, Lila's expression hardened, and her mouth twisted into a defiant sneer. "You all think you know so much. You think you can judge me." Jake's voice was soft yet edged with warning, like a whisper over a cliff's edge. She squared her shoulders, seemingly gathering her thoughts. "You don't know what this is. I've worked hard for my family's future. If you'd listened." Jake interrupted, disbelief exploding in his tone. "You're talking about lies. Deceit. No. Plans." She spat the word with venom. "You think you can just take the family fortune from me? Treat me like some kind of child? This is my life too, Jake." With each word, the tension curled tighter around them. Mary felt the pulse of anxiety in her throat. Whatever Lila had in mind felt like a wildfire waiting to consume everything in its path. "What plans?" Ryan prodded, unyielding. The determination in his voice pushed Mary forward. She caught a flicker of hope, a chance for Jake to see through the facade. Lila hesitated, her bravado faltering. "It's not just about money, okay? It's about power. And if I don't have control. The word hung in the air like a bitter reminder. "What happened to love, Lila?" Jake's voice trembled with emotion. "Was that ever real? Even for a second?" But Lila recoiled, the mask slipping entirely. You wouldn't understand. Try me, Jake shot back, his voice cutting through the shadows. There was genuine desperation now, and not just for the truth, but for whatever love had once united them. I can't just let it all slip away. The crowd whispered, each word simulating waves crashing against a beach. Shock painted their faces, and Mary's heart ached for Jake, caught in the storm. What does that mean? He pressed, coaxing her into clarity, as if drawing water from a dry well. Let me explain, but the anger was back in her eyes, threatening to eclipse reason. Mary's mind raced. Lila, what are you really afraid of? She needed to pull Lila out of this whirlwind. The familiar facade of confidence began to crack, her eyes darting around as though searching for a lifeline. I need to do this for my family, but under that, Mary sensed something far deeper: fear. Fear of losing everything she thought she had. You can't control everything, Lila. It's not just about money or power. What's left when the smoke clears? Silence fell, and the echo of her question lingered. Lila's walls faltered, inch by inch. I don't know, she finally whispered, her voice breaking. Jake's expression softened. Then maybe we can face this together. Mary could almost see the hope flickering in Jake's eyes, and yet, the tension remained unyielding. Lila needed to decide fight or surrender. Just when it seemed they might break through, a sudden noise erupted behind them. A frantic commotion as someone from the crowd shouted urgently, "We need to go. It's not safe." Gasps filled the air, and panic swept through like a dark wave, sweeping away the fragile moment they had just begun to build. What came next would change everything. As dread settled in the pit of Mary's stomach, she wondered, what were they about to uncover? And could they stand together against whatever storm was closing in? The moment shattered like glass. People surged for the exits, confusion and fear mingling in the air. Jake instinctively moved closer to Lila, protectively. What do you mean it's not safe? He demanded, scanning the crowd for a sign of danger. I don't know, a voice cried out from the back, laced with panic. Someone's coming. They said they're going to shut this place down. Mary felt her heart race. It wasn't just chaos she sensed, it was something darker. We have to stick together, she shouted, fighting to keep her composure. She grabbed Jake's arm with one hand and reached for Lila's with the other. Stay close. But Lila shot back, her eyes flashing with uncertainty. Why should I? It was an instinctive pullback, as if she suddenly doubted the very ground they stood on. The desperation in her tone mirrored the confusion of the crowd, and Mary recognized that fear curled within her like smoke. Because this is our chance to find out the truth, Mary urged, her voice steadier than she felt. Whatever is coming, we face it together. Together? Lila echoed incredulously, her defensiveness palpable. You think I can trust anyone right now? Jake's grip on Lila tightened. You can trust me. You can trust Mary. Whatever you're scared of, we'll figure it out. Just then, a loud crash echoed from the back of the venue, sending a ripple of terrified gasps through the crowd. Someone shouted. Everyone, stay calm. It's just security. They're checking things out. Mary struggled to keep her mind focused on Lila, but the vibrations of urgency filled the room. Beneath the surface, tension was starting to boil over. She couldn't ignore the pressing culmination of Lila's secrets, the heat in the air, and the emergency that loomed. They're here for you, aren't they? Mary probed, her heart racing. Ryan, that's why he came to talk. Lila's face twisted in anger, but it was mixed with something else, an inkling of fear. He doesn't care about me. He just wants to ruin everything, she spat, her voice dropping to a whisper. Jake stepped closer, blocking the people who were still pushing toward the exits. What does he want, Lila? Just tell us. It's complicated, she sighed, the walls around her emotions collapsing slightly. He promised he'd expose our family secrets if I didn't comply. Comply? Mary echoed, confused. With what? The crowd's murmurs grew louder as more eyes turned to them. This felt too big to contain, like a balloon about to burst. Lila, you need to explain, Jake insisted, his voice firm yet compassionate. What are you supposed to do? I can't say, Lila whispered, her shoulders slumping under the weight of it all. Before Mary could press further, the doors swung open with a loud bang. Figures in dark uniforms flooded in, and the atmosphere shifted. Whispers of eviction passed between jittery guests, and the sense of festivity drained away completely. Everyone, please remain calm, a voice shouted from the entrance. We have to clear the building for a safety inspection. Mary's mind raced. This was at the firestorm they had all sensed was about to break loose. Whatever Lila was afraid to confront was about to expose them under the harsh light of the truth. Lila! Mary cried, the urgency pulling her back into focus. No more hiding. This is our moment to stand strong. Are you with us? With the world outside seeming hostile and uncertain, Lila's eyes flickered between fear and resolve. For one brief moment, the chaos around them melted into a backdrop, leaving just them intact. It was a small moment, but in the eye of the storm, it felt monumental. The figure at the door moved forward, scanning the room. The crowd shifted anxiously, pressing closer together, forming a wall of uncertainty. Mary felt the breath catch in her throat, not just for what was to come, but for what this all could mean. Do you trust us? Jake asked quietly, his gaze steady and earnest. Lila hesitated, her mask slipping once more, revealing just a hint of vulnerability. I don't know. Right then, as the uniformed figures closed in, Mary sensed a pivotal moment. Whatever choice Lila made could change everything. Would she stand with them, or choose the path of isolation amidst unfolding secrets? As the door slammed shut behind them, a chilling silence fell over the crowd. Mary could feel her heart pound as the tension reached a breaking point. What was about to be revealed could ripple through their lives forever, and in the midst of that silence, one thought echoed loudly: would they emerge as united forces against their fears or succumb to the chaos that thrummed dangerously close? Lila's eyes darted around the room, filled with dozens of uncertain faces. Fear gripped her heart, constricting it like a vice. The uniforms inched closer, their expressions unreadable, sending the crowd into another wave of anxious whispers. Mary could almost see the gears turning in Lila's mind, the internal battle loud in the silence that enveloped them. Lila, take a breath, Jake murmured, his voice low but firm. Whatever Ryan wants, we can figure it out together. But Lila was frozen, her past and present colliding in a storm of dread. You don't understand, she whispered, trembling slightly. This isn't just about me. It's about everything I've kept hidden. Mary nodded, sensing the urgency at breaking open Lila's walls. And that's exactly why you need to talk now. If you don't face this now, it could cost you more than you think. Suddenly, one of the uniformed figures broke from the group and approached them. His expression was calm but firm. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to ask you all to please follow us. We're ensuring everyone's safety. His tone suggested he was used to handling crowds, but there was a flicker of determination in his eyes that caught Mary's attention. No. Lila blurted, her voice rising above the hushed murmurs. You can't take us. The panic that had been simmering inside her erupted, her heart pounding so heavily that it felt as if it might shatter. The figure's brows furrowed, confused. He glanced at Jake, then at Mary, searching for clarity. Miss, we're just doing our job to maintain order. We don't want anyone to get hurt. No, it's not just that. Lila stepped forward, the flush of desperation staining her cheeks. This isn't just a safety inspection. They want to expose me. If I go with them, stop. Mary interjected, stepping closer, her heart racing for her friend. What are they trying to expose? What does Ryan have on you? Lila swallowed hard. The crowd had grown eerily quiet, and all eyes were on them. Jake steadied his grip on her shoulder, pulling her back slightly but keeping her in the light of safety. Please, Lila, he urged softly, we can help you. Just let us in. Lila looked at them, those two steadfast souls willing to fight by her side through her storm, and a flicker of hope ignited in her chest. I didn't want this for you guys, but Ryan mentioned a file. He said he had proof about things my family's been hiding for years, stuff that would ruin us. What kind of proof? Mary pressed, her breath hitching as realization began to dawn on her. Things about my dad's business, shady deals, and secrets that involve more than just him. If they get released, it could destroy our reputation, and my family. Lila's voice cracked. They'll do whatever it takes to silence me. Jake's expression hardened. Then we don't let them. Whatever he has, we can find a way to combat it. We're in this together. The door swung open again, and another officer entered, this time with a clipboard in hand, scanning the crowd. We need to move quickly. Is everyone accounted for? His eyes flicked over Lila, Mary, and Jake, a new alertness in his stance. Feeling the weight of those words, Lila finally found her voice again. If we run now, we might escape the chaos. Mary and Jake exchanged glances, the urgency pulsing around them like a heartbeat. Together, Jake said, holding Lila's gaze. We can figure this out, but we have to act fast. The crowd waited with bated breath, a tapestry of faces longing for a signal. Would they run towards the unknown or risk it all by staying behind? Suddenly, Lila looked at both of them, her eyes wide with determination. Okay, let us go. But if we're doing this, we have to face our truth head-on. As the three of them turned to make their move, the crowd instinctively parted, feeling the tension shift. They were all in this abyss together, yet their paths were diverging into an uncertain future. Just as they pushed towards the exit, the lights flickered ominously, and a loud voice boomed, "You can't leave." With panic rising again, Mary turned, her heart racing. This wasn't just about Lila anymore, it was about all of them and the darkness they were about to uncover. Had they made the right choice, or was it too late to turn back? As the voice echoed through the garden, the atmosphere thickened with dread. Mary felt adrenaline surge, her instincts screaming that they were teetering on the edge of something monumental. We can't look back, she urged, pulling Lila by the hand as they sprinted toward the nearest exit. Stay together, Jake shouted, his eyes scanning for threats while keeping a protective stance in front of Lila. The three of them pushed through the crowd, urgency propelling them forward. They could feel the chaos behind, people gasping as if each breath drawn was a stolen moment in this uneasy celebration. Mary. Jake. Wait. A voice called from the throng. It was Tim, her steadfast friend. He pushed his way through, urgency written on his face. What is going on? There's something we need to uncover. It's all connected, Mary panted, glancing back. Lila's face was a mix of fear and determination, and that flicker of hope shining through began to empower her. This was her moment, not just to reveal the truth, but to reclaim her identity. What do you mean? Tim pressed, but there was no time. Mary glanced at him pleadingly. Just trust us for now. As they neared the exit, the looming darkness was more than just the encroaching night, it was a storm of secrets ready to shatter whatever facade they had left. The energy in the air prickled with tension. Just as they reached the door, a group of uniformed officers barreled in, their presence an ominous warning. Everyone stay where you are. No one is leaving until we sort this out. One officer commanded, hands steady on his utility belt, eyes sharp and piercing. Mary's heart sank, an urgency pounding in her pulse. We can't stop now, she whispered, more to herself than to Lila and Jake. This is it, we face it together. Lila turned to them, resolve shaping her features. All right, I'll tell you everything. If they're here to shut us down, then we have to expose them right back. Lila, we just need to know what we're up against, Jake stated, stepping closer, concern lacing his tone. What are they planning? Lila drew a shallow breath, the tension in the air thick as molasses. My family, they've been hiding connections to shady deals, money laundering, connections with unsavory people, all to keep things under wraps. If Ryan has anything tangible, it'll ruin us. I wasn't just trying to protect my family, I wanted to protect you too. Then we need to find a way to take back control, Mary said, her voice steadier now. There has to be a way out of this. Just then, Tim pushed closer, catching up with them. If their essay file, we can get it. We can make copies, gather witnesses. Show everyone who Lila really is. Lila took a deep breath, eyes flashing with uncertainty but also fire. We need to confront Ryan. He's the only one who has proof it seems, and if he's willing to release that information to the authorities we're done. The officers had surrounded them, and the tension was palpable. Fear intertwined with determination, tightening their bond. Let us go. We can't let someone decide our fate based on lies or fear, Mary said, feeling the rally of strength surge through her. Taking a collective breath, they turned toward the door again. They needed an escape, needed to counter the chaos looming on the horizon. If we can just get out there and find Ryan, Lila's voice faltered, but in her eyes, a spark of courage flickered. We can do this. Jake said, looking them both in the eye. Together, remember? We're a team. The officers were now closing in, but with the fire of conviction burning in their hearts, they wove through the chaos. Guests were still milling about, but fear was palpable, everyone understood the weight of the moment. Move. Mary urged, determination flooding every step as they rushed into the fray. We're not letting fear dictate our future. One of the officers stepped forward, attempting to halt them. You can't, but Mary pushed through, Lila and Jake beside her, grounded by a sense of unity that felt unbreakable. This was their fight, their truth, and their future dependent on dismantling the web of deceit. Created around them, outside, the night enveloped them, but it brought fresh air too, a clean breeze that whispered promises of a new beginning. Lila turned to Jake, tears glistening but hope alive in her eyes. Thank you for believing in me. Always, Jake said, their hands intertwining as they ventured into the darkness, ready to uncover every secret and face every obstacle. Mary felt warmth spread through her heart. In this moment, she knew they would not just fight for their legacies, but for love and authenticity. With each step forward, they edged closer to the truth, and as they faced whatever awaited them, their hearts stood together, undaunted and intertwined, ready to reclaim their lives. It was now or never. This was a battle worth fighting for, and as they moved further into the night, strong and united, the dawn of a new day beckoned on the horizon, the chance for transparency, for redemption, for family. Now, as the lanterns swayed gently against the lingering dusk, they had ignited a fire within, stronger than any secret, fiercer than any betrayal. The world would see them, and they would rise together. And just like that, Mary realized this was the true victory, not just for herself, but for family, love, and truth. It wasn't simply about exposure, it was a fight for trust, for hope, and above all the chance to reclaim their future. Now, are you feeling inspired by this journey? You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the word about love and courage. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending, and for the heart of friendship and authenticity, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second. Share the passion to rise through adversity.